Hey chess friends, National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have game of the day from Title Tuesday that just happened a few hours ago. Let's check it out. This game right here is actually FIDE Master Pedro Martinez versus International Master Greg Shahade with the black pieces. Let's see it. We have a d4, knight f6, c4, and g6. So maybe a King's Indian, maybe a Grunfeld, and things like that. Now, of course, you guys, you want to know the time control is 3 minutes in 1 second increment here. So let's see what happens. d5, this is a Grunfeld we went for, and knight f3 and bishop g7. Now, you have many ways to go here in the Grunfeld. You have the queen b3s, you have the exchange variations, bishop f4s, bishop g5s, even h3s and h4s. Queen b3 is the Russian system is what they like to call it here. Sort of a sideline in a way, but definitely very playable for both sides. After queen to b3, d takes c4, and after queen takes c4, and the reason for d takes c4, we're going to play a6 and b5, or c6 and b5, or sometimes even putting the bishop on e6 or f5. After queen takes c4, castles from Greg, and e4 from Pedro, grabbing some center, grabbing some space, feeling good about my position. a6 from Greg, great move, preparing b5, and even c5 and bishop b7. Things like this, attacking the center as much as possible. That's the whole idea of the Grunfeld here, is to attack the massive center that white can definitely have here. After a6, e5, which is aggressive, attacking the knight, making him move. And instead of moving the knight, right, when you find a good move, look for a better one. b5, very good move here. Attack the queen first, queen moves off, and then we move the knight, where he goes knight f to d7. Here, totally fine position. e6 looks kind of cool, but it actually doesn't work. It's not the best move. I mean, after f takes e6, queen takes e6, king h8. Something like knight to g5 can be answered with a beautiful move, knight f6, or even knight e5. Look at that. It's kind of cool. But that didn't happen here. Pedro didn't want to go for that. He just went bishop to e3, said, I'm going to develop my pieces. Greg finds a very strong break here with c5. Very nice. Almost in semi-Slav, Knight-or fashion. Many openings you'll see, and sometimes it looks like a Sicilian in a way, with c5, b5, and a6 push. Bishop b7's coming. Great position, honestly, for both sides. Engine says it's about equal here, slightly better for black, and literally not by even half a pawn. After c5, d takes c5, so we can open the file with a smile here. And instead of taking on c5, well, Greg says that you have 2 pawns hanging. I can take both of them. In fact, which one is better is the e pawn. So knight takes e5 is a much better move than knight takes c5 because the e pawn is a center pawn. Center pawns are better. So after knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and bishop takes e5, we now have this cool move right here, rook to d1, right? Hitting the queen. This is not the special part of the game yet. Watch what's going to happen. It's about to get crazy. After rook to d1, queen to a5. Now right here, black's definitely on the attack as white still needs to finish development and castle. So bishop e2, which I need to castle, but I'm in trouble already after bishop e2. In fact, the best move here was actually queen to d5 right now, allowing bishop takes c3 and just saying, yes, I'm down a pawn, but you did give me the strong bishop, which is this bishop here. So queen d5, taking back, queen takes c3, and then bishop to d2. And if this does happen, in fact, white's already crushing right here. It's not good for black. So now with that being said, of course, he did not play queen d5. He actually played bishop e2, defending. Now after bishop e2, Greg follows up with bishop e6. 2 bishops looking nasty here on this side of the board. The queen's pinning, and then after you move the queen, we follow up with another strong move, says Greg. In fact, Greg's already winning right now. The game is winning for black. After b4, if you move the knight, we have b3. That's for me GG in a way, right? It's really, really bad. So after b4, white says, okay, you know what? You got the piece. Go ahead. It's yours, right? He gets out of the way and castles. Now, miraculously, right, it feels like he's just lost here, which he is. It's -4. It's a very, very bad position for white as we just take the piece here. Take the piece. And then Pedro tries to mix it up a little bit and plays queen e4, attacking the bishop and the rook here. Now, this is where it gets nuts. Absolutely ridiculous. Forget everything you know about chess right now. Watch this game. So right here, after queen e4, the best move, in fact, is a very hard move to find, is knight to c6. Very strange. What? He's just like giving up the knight. Well, first off, there's a double attack on the bishop and the rook, right? Now, what Greg played in the game was c2. Just saying, okay, cool, I'm going to attack your rook, and maybe we'll figure out what to do afterwards. c2 is a move. Of course, time is an issue here too as well, depending on how much time he had at this point. After queen e4, knight c6 is a really cool move. Not only does it block the rook's connection and connecting my rooks, or blocking the hanging rook, and also defending my bishop, but the knight's hanging. So you take the knight, And then we take back on b2 and say, what do you do, right? This is a wrap here. Bishop f5 looking good. Rooks to the file with a smile. This is over. This is very, very bad for white. But instead, he chose c2, which is not terrible, just not the best move. After queen takes e5 here, which instead of him just moving the rook, he actually takes on e5. Queen takes e5 and says, go ahead, Greg, promote. And so what does he do? He says, okay, Pedro, I'm going to promote. Now stop right here. White to move. What would you do in this position? Here it is. This is what he did. Instead of taking the queen back, he plays bishop h6. Oh, man, it's about to go down here. This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. Now, what I would do, just because I already know, I'm going to probably take here. And the idea here, right, is let's see, queen takes f1, which is a move. You actually are getting mated. Bishop takes f1. And then after queen to c3, you're getting mated, right? f6. After f6, queen takes king h8. And then look at this, guys. Queen takes e7. Oh, my goodness. Mate is hanging. Okay, you stopped the mate, but you didn't stop this mate. Insane. This is nuts. Right? So you would think queen takes f1 is just a move. It's the first thing you think of. Oh, okay. You're going to, you know what? Let me get a rook for it. But you can't stop the mate. So Greg finds a brilliant move, in fact, here. And bishop h6 was brilliant, by the way. But it followed up by another move that was brilliant as well. Can you spot it? Black to move. Can you spot the way to stop what's going on here? Here's the move, right? Greg plays queen to d4. Oh my goodness, there's 3 queens on the board. There are 3 queens on the board right now. Queen d4 stops the mate. So queen g7 is obvious. If you play queen g7 and does not mate, you just block with your whole face, right? After you do this, this just doesn't work. Oh my goodness, right? So he takes the queen, forced, right? g7 is now mate once again. Now f6 works because e6 is hanging. How is this even happening right now? After f6, queen back to e4 again with another double attack. The same double attack as earlier. Strange how that even works. So after this, Greg plays queen takes a2. Cool. Perfect. We get a pawn for it. I'm going to defend his bishop. Go ahead. You can have the little rook. Whatever. After he takes the rook, right now, Engine says that this is equal in a way. But after all the just clatter that just happened and all the tactics, you're not thinking equal at all. You're just trying to figure out some clarity in the position. What is going on? After queen takes a8, there was rook to d8, which is actually a huge blunder here. 1000% a blunder. And I can understand why he moves the rook, because the rook is hanging. Makes total sense. The rook is hanging, right? And you don't want to move the rook f7. It hangs a piece immediately. And of course, if he takes the rook, then the knight is hanging. That makes total sense to actually just like, okay, got to move the rook. But again, he actually had a slightly better move here, which is kind of hard to find. Not the hardest, but there is a lot going on, and of course, time being an issue as well. He plays bishop to d5, or sorry, bishop d5 is the best move in this position, hitting the queen instead. And if queen h7, then you can maybe move the rook, but you can also play knight c6 first. But this is really hard to find, these most super, super precise, accurate moves. After queen takes a8, rook to d8, unfortunately blunders on the spot. It just blunders, right? Now, after rook to d8, there's a few moves you can make. The best is c6, threatening c7. But queen b7 was the move played. Threatening queen takes e7 and mate and the d8 rook and e6 in some cases. Of course, the queen's defending it now. And then you have c6 and c7 too as a huge backup. And then king f7 from Greg here. King f7 trying to just, hey, I need to consolidate. I got to get everything nice and tight here and make sure I don't have anything hanging or loose. So he defends the pawn with king f7. c6 from white, threatening c7 here. And then queen d5, which is a huge mistake. Let's go back. Now, right here, it is +3. It's a very difficult position right here for Greg. And the best move is actually taking, which is rough because now you're just going down a piece. It's really rough at this point. But with that being said, crazy game. King f7, c6 happens, queen d5. Very logical move. Very logical move. If you push the pawn, I'm going to take your queen. So we probably shouldn't push the pawn, right? Pedro should probably find another move. Maybe like what? Bishop f3 maybe, or bishop e3, or even bishop f4, maybe rook c1, right? Because it's defending the c6 pawn, right? But what would you do in this position? What would you do, right? Now, of course, the pawn is hanging. Pushing, you hang your queen. So what do? White to move. Pedro says, yes, my queen is hanging if I push the pawn, but I don't care. Stares at you real hard. C7. Oh my goodness, what a move. It's on the board. This is nuts. C7. After C7, he does take the queen. And now you have to remember, guys, right? Of course, all of us have our auto queen or auto promote on, right? Auto queen when you promote. We all have that on. I'm sure you do too, right? And you can use control or alt, whichever one that is, when you need to change here, right? This is one of the situations where you never get this kind of position, right? He takes and he under promotes to a knight. I'm done for today. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good day. It's time to go home. Wow. Under promotion with the check, flex real hard. Oh my goodness. Sacrifice the queen to get it back. This was a bananas game for a Title Tuesday event. This is nuts. Now, after King E8, knight takes B7. Ridiculous. And right here, Greg Shahade actually resigned in this position.